The radical power of forgiveness, how letting go sets you free. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Simone McKoy, a visionary whose work in forgiveness practices has transformed countless lives and organizations across the globe. What makes Simone extraordinary isn't just her intellectual brilliance, but the way she embodies the very essence of what she teaches. She walks through the world with such grace that you can almost see the weight she's released through forgiveness, a living testament to her philosophy. Her work has quietly revolutionized corporate cultures, healed fractured communities, and given individuals permission to put down burdens they never should have carried in the first place. Have you ever held on to something so tightly that your hands cramped, that your shoulders ached, that your heart felt like it was carrying concrete? That's what unforgiveness does to us. It's the heaviest bag we never signed up to carry. I used to think forgiveness was weakness, a surrender, something that meant the other person won. Maybe you felt that too. Especially as Black women, we're often taught that a hardness equals strength, that holding grudges somehow protects us from further harm. But what if everything we've been taught about forgiveness is backward? What if the most radical act of power isn't holding on, but letting go? During my conversation with Simone McKoy, she shared something that stopped me in my tracks. Forgiveness isn't about excusing the behavior. It's about refusing to let that behavior continue to harm you long after the incident has passed. Let that sink in for a moment. When we refuse to forgive, we're essentially allowing someone who hurt us yesterday to keep hurting us today, tomorrow, and every day after that. We're giving them free rent in our minds, our hearts, our bodies, spaces that should be reserved for joy, creativity, and peace. This isn't just spiritual talk. This is practical, professional, life changing truth. Consider Simone Kelly, the dynamic entrepreneur behind Seniornicity, a company revolutionizing senior care through innovative services. Early in her journey, she faced significant skepticism from industry peers who questioned her unconventional methods. Rather than becoming defensive or harboring resentment toward her critics, Simone chose transparency and forgiveness. When people doubted my approach, she shared during an interview, I could have built walls or fought back. Instead, I chose to understand their concerns, address them openly, and forgive the doubts rather than carrying them as personal affronts. This choice wasn't just noble, it was strategic. By refusing to waste energy on grudges, Simone's team could focus entirely on service excellence rather than getting distracted by conflict. Under her leadership, Seniornicity developed a reputation for its compassionate culture and exceptional client satisfaction. Her forgiveness centered approach has influenced senior care organizations nationwide to adopt more empathetic business models. But forgiveness isn't just powerful for individual leaders, it transforms entire organizations. On the Remote Life podcast, Simone Franca discussed how forgiveness practices created psychological safety in remote work environments. Her team had experienced misunderstandings that threatened their cohesion, something many of us can relate to in this digital age. Rather than allowing these tensions to fester, leaders encouraged open dialogue about mistakes without fear of retribution. They modeled forgiveness as an organizational value. The results: increased trust, higher productivity, better retention rates among diverse staff members. Their story has inspired other remote businesses, particularly those led by women of color, to prioritize emotional safety through forgiveness practices. I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice, but you don't know what I've been through. You're right. I don't. And some wounds cut so deep that the word forgiveness itself feels like salt being poured directly into them. I'm not suggesting that forgiveness is easy or that it happens overnight or that it means reconciliation with people who have harmed you. Sometimes the healthiest boundaries are the ones that keep certain people at a permanent distance. But here's what I am suggesting: holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Consider the story featured on Instagram about Simone, an advisor whose journey began in pharmaceutical sales before she rose through global corporate ranks. She faced discrimination due to both race and gender biases within top tier companies, experiences that might have justifiably left her bitter and resentful. Instead of retaliating or internalizing that negativity, she practiced self forgiveness first, acknowledging her own pain without shame, and then extended grace even toward those who underestimated her abilities. This approach enabled her career advancement without bitterness, clouding her relationships or decision making processes. Her commitment grew from witnessing generational patterns where unforgiveness had stifled potential among talented Black professionals around her. She became known for mentoring others through conflict resolution rooted in compassion instead of retaliation, helping shift corporate culture toward greater inclusivity across multiple organizations. This is the first blessing of forgiveness. It creates a pathway to personal freedom and growth. When we forgive, whether in business, leadership, or personal life, we release emotional burdens that hold us back from reaching our fullest potential. We create space for new opportunities and authentic connections. We reclaim our energy for the things that actually matter. The second blessing is equally powerful. Forgiveness strengthens professional relationships and community bonds. When we practice forgiveness within our professional circles, we foster trust and resilience. This creates safer space for collaboration, innovation, and honest dialogue, especially important for Black women who often navigate complex workplace dynamics where we're simultaneously hyper visible and invisible. As Audre Lorde reminds us, caring for myself is not self indulgence, it is self preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. I would argue that forgiveness, true, deep forgiveness, is one of the most profound acts of self care available to us. But perhaps the most beautiful blessing of forgiveness is its power to transform adversity into wisdom. Every act of forgiveness is a lesson. It teaches us empathy, courage, and self compassion. By embracing these lessons, we not only heal ourselves, but also become catalysts for positive change in our communities. I see you nodding. I also see some of you crossing your arms unconvinced. That's okay. Skepticism is healthy, but I invite you to consider: what is unforgiveness costing you right now? Is it affecting your sleep, your relationships, your creativity, your joy, your ability to be fully present in your own magnificent life? There's a scripture that says, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." I've come to understand this not as a transaction, but as a recognition of how forgiveness works. It's circular, not linear. When we forgive others, we simultaneously release ourselves. Now, let me be clear about what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not forgetting what happened. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay. Forgiveness is not removing appropriate consequences. Forgiveness is not requiring reconciliation with toxic people. Forgiveness is not a one time event. Sometimes it's a daily choice. What forgiveness is a decision to stop letting past hurts determine your future happiness. It's choosing freedom over familiarity with pain. It's saying, this happened, it hurt, and I'm not going to let it continue to hurt me anymore. I believe Simone McKoy would agree wholeheartedly with this sentiment. Throughout our interview, her passion for helping others discover the liberation that comes through forgiveness was palpable. She has witnessed firsthand how unforgiveness can become an invisible ceiling limiting our potential, especially for Black women who already face so many external barriers. So here's my challenge to you today. One inspired directly by my conversation with Simone. Take inventory this week of any lingering resentments you're carrying at work or home. Choose one situation where you can extend genuine forgiveness, not just as a gift to someone else, but as an act of liberation for yourself. Start small if you need to. Perhaps forgive the colleague who took credit for your idea or the family member who made that insensitive comment at dinner. Notice how it feels in your body to release that tension. Then practice self forgiveness too, for the times you weren't perfect, for the boundaries you didn't set, for the opportunities you missed. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend. Remember that forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice like yoga or meditation or any other skill worth developing. Some days will be easier than others. That's normal. Be gentle with yourself in the process. As we stand at this crossroads together, I want you to imagine two paths stretching before you. One is lined with the familiar weight of grudges, resentments, and pain. The path many of us have walked for so long that its burden feels normal. The other path seems uncertain, even frightening in its lightness. The path of forgiveness. I'm not asking you to leap blindly onto this new path. I'm inviting you to take one step, just one, and notice what happens. Because here's what I know for certain: on the other side of forgiveness lies a version of yourself you may have forgotten was possible, a version unburdened by yesterday's pain, a version with energy to create, to love, to lead, to change the world around you. The question isn't whether you can afford to forgive. The question is, can you afford not to? Your capacity to forgive is not a measure of your weakness, but a testament to your power. It's not about diminishing your experience, but about refusing to let painful experiences diminish your future. In the words of Desmond Tutu, forgiveness says you are given another chance to make a new beginning. So take that chance. Make that new beginning. Step into the freedom that awaits on the other side of forgiveness. Because the most radical revolution begins not in changing others, but in the quiet, courageous act of setting yourself free.